Mr. Speaker, the ADB has projected Fiji's growth at 3% in 2025, but our own macroeconomic committee's forecast as of June 2025 puts our growth projection to 3.2% for the year. Mr. Speaker, the macroeconomic committee undertook a robust assessment of the economy in June. They had taken into account a number of factors, such as the global slowdown, ongoing trade wars, geopolitical tensions, downward revisions to our trading partners' growth outlook. New Zealand, for example, has been in recession, varying speeds at which some central banks around the world have reacted on the impact of government expenditure on the overall economy. And on the basis of that, to arrive at the revised growth projection of 3.2% for 2025. For 2026 and 2027, Mr. Speaker, growth is expected to be very broad-based and return to its long-term trend of around 3 to 3.5%. The services sector remain the main contributors to growth, followed by the industrial and primary sectors. Mr. Speaker, the Macroeconomic Committee is currently re-looking at the projections, and given the assessment that they are making and given the level of investment, consumption activity in the economy, performance of the resource-based sectors, we are confident that the growth will be revised further upwards. And that's very good news, Mr. Speaker. At the global level, the uncertainty from the US trade tariffs has eased, which has kind of provided us with a great deal of certainty, not just here, but globally. The other positive aspect of the international situation is that the crude oil price, fortunately, continues to be below the US $70 per barrel mark, which is again helpful to us, despite the geopolitical tensions which could have potentially led to the increase in price. And some of us were kind of expecting that. And we did take that into account, Mr. Speaker, very carefully when we formulated the budget. And we're also seeing globally some of the major central banks are actually cutting interest rate, including Australia, including New Zealand, and as inflationary pressures in those countries also ease, particularly in US, Australia, UK, and New Zealand. And I think that helps strengthen the outlook for the major trading partners and key tourism source market for us. So at the domestic level, Mr. Speaker, the consumption spending remains very strong, supported by high consumer confidence, investor confidence, and it has picked up significantly, supported with increased private sector lending, supported by low interest rate. The expansionary fiscal stance of government is also supporting economic activity and business activity in general. So, Mr. Speaker, including the remittances which have remained very strong. So I want to, Mr. Speaker, bring to attention, or Parliament's attention, that the Fiji Bureau of Statistics has recently released the GDP numbers under the new 2019 base. All this while we are operating on the 2014 base. And we did that because the structure, the recent economic structure, shows a lot of changes, and there are trends which show that very, very clearly. And, Mr. Speaker, when we look at inflation, Fiji Bureau of Statistics has recently released the Consumer Price Index. And this is very important because there's a lot of misinformation about inflation, about cost of living. and especially some coming from the other side, Mr. Speaker, sir. The 2019 CPI rebase, which is based on the 2019 and 2020 household income expenditure survey, actually highlights notable shifts in consumer preferences, prompting structural changes in the food and non-alcoholic beverages, education, tobacco, narcotics, and the communication categories. So under the updated 2019 base year, monthly inflation for the period January to August has averaged negative 1%, a clear indication that the overall consumer prices have fallen when compared to the same period in 2024. This is independent figures, Honorable Kumar. This is independent figures. These are not my figures. Mr. Speaker, inflation on top of that has been negative territory for the last 7 consecutive months, which means that since February this year, overall prices have been coming down compared to the same period last year. Inflation rate was recorded at minus 3.5% in August 2025 compared to 3.8% last year. So coming to Honorable Mara's question, what new targeted fiscal measures beyond the general budget? I mean, you know this, and the people of this country know this. We put out an expansionary budget, but we also assessed what was happening with respect to consumer spending, what was happening to the prices. We further added to that and reduced the VAT from 15 to 12.5% because we realized that our economic growth was still very, very high. Consumption activity was high. So even with the reduced VAT, we are still going to collect, if not the same amount of revenue, probably more. So the combined effect of VAT reduction and keeping the 22 items zero rated, that in total, we are adding about $500 million directly into the pockets of our people. On top of that, duty reductions, as we know, from 42% for some of the items to 32%, to 15% on things like chicken portions, including wings, drumsticks, offals, zero duty on some of the other meat products. In the last budget, we reduced duty on frozen fish, including salmon, from 15% to 0%, and I'm told that a lot of supermarkets are seeing a lot of good sales. And we have everyday items, whether you talk about potatoes, garlic, onion, tea, cooking oil, etc., these all have attracted zero duty, including some of the fruits and vegetables. So, Mr. Speaker, we have put in some very, very important measures, including the task force between FRCS, Ministry of Finance, FCCC, Consumer Council, to ensure that the price reduction that we anticipated as a result of our policies are actually being passed on to the consumers. And I want to thank all the businesses who have done that, and those that haven't, we will make sure that they do. So, apart from that, there are several measures in the budget with respect to expenditure measures, whether you look at 10% reduction in bus fares, whether you look at the continued subsidy, plus, apart from the expenditure side, Honorable Maharaj, we have also looked at the income side. So, since we've come into government, minimum wage has gone up from $4 to $5. In fact, we started with $4 when we came in. We increased the salaries of the civil servants. We're looking at expenditure that is having a very clear impact on the incomes of farmers as well. So high cane prices, high rice prices, subsidies for fertilizer and weedicide, all this is adding towards growth in income. And these are measures that is really giving relief to a lot of consumers in the country, and the figures are very clear. The official figures are very clear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.